You know, there's one thing you get from the Bible if you read it carefully is God does not withhold the good, the bad, or the ugly from telling us about the human condition. And David here was a man that God loved, that God put in a position of authority, but he also was a man who was flawed. And in chapter 11 and chapter 12, you have the story of his great sin with Bathsheba. Even though he was a married man, she was a married woman. They are together. He takes her, fathers a child by her, arranges to have her husband killed in battle, and then tries to cover it all up with a quick marriage to the grieving widow. Well, from that point on, you see a downward spiral of events in David's family life. Now, he did confess his sins, and I just want to read a verse for you found in chapter 12 and verse 13, where Nathan the prophet comes and through telling a story confronts David with his sin. By the way, if you want to read chapter 12, you'll see that whole story. But here's what David says. So David said to Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. And Nathan said to David, the Lord also has put away your sin. You shall not die. Verse 14, however, because this deed has given great occasion to the enemies of the Lord to blaspheme you, the child who is born to you shall surely die. And Nathan departed to his house. That's 13, 14, and 15 of 2 Samuel 12. You see, our actions have lasting and grave consequences. God can forgive. God forgave David, but that does not take away all of the consequences of his sin. And the same is true for us. Sinning and finding forgiveness is wonderful. We're thankful to God that he does forgive us our sins. But on the human scale, on the human equation, on the human level, it's still better not to have sinned because there are consequences to pay. That is true in our family life. We face temptations all the time. We hear of families that break up, of infidelity, of marital strife, of children rebelling against parents, of brothers and sisters having conflicts. All of these things are just dreadful events that go on in family life. And what can we do to ensure it won't happen to us? Well, we can't do anything to assure that we'll be free of all of that drama, but the best we can do is to walk faithfully with God and walk in obedience to his commands. It's one of the best safeguards we could have, because some of those events and some of those moments of drama can indeed be traced as the human earthly consequences of our own disobedience. May we just set our sights and our hearts to walk in purity before God, to keep our marriage vows, to find and fulfill the roles that we have as husbands, wives, children, brothers, sisters, members of this community. May God help us to honor him today.